TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made an unscheduled trip to the United Kingdom this morning after the Islamic Republic announced its decision to further scale back its nuclear-related commitments under the 2015 nuclear agreement. The United States Special Representative for Iran, Brian Hook, announced a series of new sanctions against the Islamic Republic as part of Washington's maximum pressure campaign against Tehran. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan stresses in an address to his AK party members that it is unacceptable for world powers to forbid his country from acquiring nuclear weapons. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made an unscheduled trip to the United Kingdom this morning after the Islamic Republic announced its decision to further scale back its nuclear-related commitments under the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which is the technical term of the 2015 nuclear agreement. Before boarding his flight to London at Ben Gurion International Airport in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu insisted that this is not the time to hold talks with Iran amid its continued malign activities on multiple fronts, but rather a time to increase the pressure.
הבוקר התבשרנו על עוד התרסה של איראן, הפעם בתחום חתירתה לנשק גרעיני. זה מצטרף לפעולות התוקפניות של איראן נגד השיט הבינלאומי, נגד מדינות באזור, וגם הניסיונות שלה לקיים התקפות רצחניות נגד מדינת ישראל, ניסיונות שלא פסקו. זה לא הזמן לנהל שיחות עם איראן, זה הזמן להגביר את הלחץ על איראן. על הנושאים האלה וגם אחרים, אני אשוחח בביקור בזק בלונדון עם ראש ממשלת בריטניה בוריס ג'ונסון ועם מזכיר ההגנה האמריקני מרק אספר. ואלה דברים שהם חשובים לישראל בכל עת, אבל בייחוד בזמן הזה.
Netanyahu's sudden trip came in light of an announcement by Iranian President Hassan Rouhani in which he declared his country's intention to take additional steps away from the JCPOA tomorrow if Europe fails to provide a solution to the Islamic Republic's faltering economy, effectively crippled by US-imposed international sanctions. In a Tehran press conference alongside the country's parliament speaker Ali Larijani and head of the judiciary Ibrahim Raisi, President Rouhani claimed that the scale-back will be implemented on Friday, September 6th, because Iran did not achieve its desirable objective.
و من از همکنون اعلام میکنم گام سوم رو که سازمان انرژی اتمی ما موظف هست در زمینه تحقیق و توسعه هر آنچه نیاز فنی کشور هست بلافاصله شروع بکنه و آغاز بکنه و تمام تعهداتی که در زمینه تحقیق و توسعه در برجام مد نظر بوده اینها رو کنار بگذاره.
President Rouhani further underscored that the so-called third step will include development in nuclear research and development in the field of advanced centrifuges and enrichment. It is important to mention that Prime Minister Netanyahu's comments this morning on the Iranian nuclear issue marked a rare public dissonance between the Israeli leader and his close friend and ally, US President Donald Trump. The American leader, who spoke to reporters at the Oval Office in the White House yesterday, left an open door to a possible meeting with his Iranian counterpart, President Hassan Rouhani, at the upcoming annual United Nations General Assembly, which is scheduled to kick off on the 17th of September.
They would like to be able to solve their problem. They got a big problem. They're getting killed financially. Their inflation is at a number that few people have ever seen inflation at. And it's a very sad situation. They could solve it very quickly. We could solve it in 24 hours. But we'll see what happens.
When asked whether the United States would accept French mediation in dealing with the Islamic Republic, President Trump insisted that when the time is ripe, Washington can deal with Tehran directly.
So we don't need anybody to deal. We can deal directly if we want. But other countries are offering help. They'd like to see it straightened out. But they also agree with me. We had a great G7, and they all agreed no nuclear weapons for Iran. They all agree. No nuclear weapons for Iran.
It is important to note that despite repeated U.S. calls for talks, Tehran has rejected any negotiations with Washington unless the Trump administration immediately drops its crippling international sanctions, which devastated both Iran and the Ayatollah regime's ability to pursue all of its declared foreign aspirations. That said, earlier in the day, Washington's special representative for Iran, Brian Hook, announced a series of new sanctions against the Islamic Republic as part of the U.S. maximum pressure campaign against Iran.
Today, the United States government is intensifying our maximum pressure campaign against the Islamic Republic of Iran. First, we are announcing a reward of up to $15 million for any person who helps us disrupt the financial operations of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps and Quds Force.
The senior U.S. diplomat explained that the decision to ratchet up pressure against the Islamic Republic and its Revolutionary Guards are in line with American diplomatic and economic efforts to disrupt the Ayatollah regime's malign terror-related operations.
We have taken this step because the IRGC operates more like a terrorist organization than it does a government. The IRGC and the Quds Force were designated as a foreign terrorist organization in April, and this put them in the same category as many of the terrorist groups that they actively support, such as Hezbollah and Hamas. The IRGC trains, funds, and equips proxy organizations across the Middle East. Iran wants these groups to extend the borders of the regime's revolution and sow chaos and sectarian violence. We are using every available diplomatic and economic tool to disrupt these operations.
Ambassador Hook also announced that the United States is taking sweeping action against an illicit petroleum shipping network that is run by the Islamic Revolutionary Guards. According to the American Special Representative, the Iranian network managed to move hundreds of millions of dollars worth of illicit oil for the purpose of funding terror-related activities. Now in other news, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan stressed that it is unacceptable for world powers to forbid his country from acquiring nuclear weapons. In an address to his ruling AK party members in Turkey's eastern city of Sivas, President Erdogan claimed that there is no developed nation in the world that doesn't have them. The Turkish leader further hinted that he seeks to provide his country with the same protection as the state of Israel. Erdogan claimed that the Jewish state, which is almost a neighbor of Turkey, deters its enemies by possessing a nuclear arsenal. Despite Israel's continued silence over its alleged nuclear capabilities, the Turkish leader asserted that no other country can touch it. The Turkish aspiration to become a nuclear power state came less than a week after Ankara's announcement that it is considering the acquisition of Russia's most advanced fighter jets after the United States decided to remove Turkey from its F-35 stealth aircraft program over its purchase of Moscow's highly sophisticated S-400 surface-to-air missile system.
F-35'ler konusunda yani Amerika şu andaki tutumunu devam ettirirse biz tabii başımızın çaresine bakacağız. Yani Su-35 mi, F-35 mi veya Su-57 mi vesaire gibi artık bunun masaya yatırılmasından öte biz savunma sanayimiz veyahut da savunmaya yönelik ne gibi tedbirler alırız? Bu tabii bizim şu andaki tedbir paketlerimizin içerisinde yer alan konuştuğumuz konular.
Under international treaties, the United States, Russia, Britain, France, and China are the only powers that are technically allowed to possess a nuclear arsenal. Nevertheless, India, Pakistan, and North Korea managed to obtain nuclear weapons as well. South Africa, under the apartheid regime, also obtained several nuclear bombs. Nevertheless, it dismantled them once it became a democracy. While Israel is believed to be a nuclear power, it has never confirmed nor denied this allegation. Thank you for watching us. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a Erev Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.